Usato was hoping that everything was just a dream, but he couldn't deny the reality anymore after seeing Tong snoring on another bed. At the same time, Alec called him, saying that he had some guests. Ryusen and Inukami felt relieved that he was safe, so he apologized for making them worried. He wanted to say that he was alive for now, but he remembered that his hellish training was about to start, and he wasn't certain it would be the same the next day. The two got worried, but seeing Usato's determination to go through the training and be of some use, they also felt the urge to do their best. Usato was certain that Ryusen was going through a lot because of their situation as heroes. He was also worried about Inukami, but he realized she was fine, seeing her as bright as ever. He was determined to get strong enough to support them someday, but he shook in fear when Rose started talking to him. She told him that since they weren't in prison, he was free to talk to his friends anytime, except when he's in training. She also gave him a journal where he could write his daily training regimen and his feelings. Then she left, saying that his training would start after breakfast. On the first day of his training, Rose taught him how to sense his mana, and since he could read their language because of translation magic, she had him read the book about their world. She explained that since their kingdom was basically neighbors with the demon territory, they would be attacked first. Then she asked him to study the basic information about nations, races, and demons. On day 2, Rose made him run a lot. It was totally different from the magic training he expected. Day 3 was similar, but Rose would heal him every time he couldn't run anymore, and he kept on running, thinking she would kill him if he stopped, and since he couldn't voice his complaints, he wrote everything in the journal. On day 4, he started running with his teammates, but he couldn't keep up at all, so Rose threw more insults in his direction. On day 5, Usato continued to run, and signs of his healing magic were starting to show up. On day 6, he started calling Rose a cold-hearted witch as she made him run despite the rain. He finally noticed the light of healing magic in his palms, but he didn't know if he really needed it. On day 7, Usato ran again and got his ass kicked after. Rose decided to increase the difficulty, saying that he pisses her off. Usato wondered if she read his journal or if his thoughts were showing on his face, but she threw him away before he could figure it out. The same thing happened on day 8. But on day 9, he started using his healing magic to deal with the injuries and pain from her beating. He was impressed with its effects, and he realized that he really needed it. On day 10, he could already run without getting tired because of his healing magic, but he was concerned if running alone was enough to make him of help to Inukami and Ryusen. He couldn't voice it out to Rose, but she suddenly gave him an additional 30 laps. Because of this, he wanted to finish his training and gave her a beating. On day 11, push-ups were added to his training regimen. Rose explained that the physical training was meant to help him run as quickly as possible from the enemy. Usato was confused, but she added that it would also allow him to save his allies, and the faster he could run, the faster he could save them. Usato realized that he didn't get scolded much this time, but it scared him instead. On day 12, Usato ran until the afternoon and did push-ups at night, and he thought his body felt lighter. On day 13, Rose made him wear weights, as she also noticed the changes he felt. On day 14, Usato got into a fight with Tong when he ate his lunch, and Rose watched as they chased each other around. A week later, Ryusen and Inukami came to visit. However, they were shocked to see Usato doing push-ups with a block of stone at his back and Rose sitting on top of it while throwing insults. This time, Usato was already talking back, and he sarcastically told her that she was so light. She responded by adding another block to his back. But Usato used his healing magic and refused to yield, so Rose told him that he was starting to be her kind of man and she planned to bring him somewhere. Although they could hardly recognize Usato, Inukami was drooling, seeing his well-toned arms. The Knight Commander, Siglis, was angered by the way Rose was training Usato. He thought she was destroying a young man with a bright future. However, Rose argued that she has her own way of doing things, and she declared that Usato would be her right-hand man, so he needs to be capable. They were surprised, even Usato. Rose explained that she likes how he never gives up and that he's been surviving his training, so Usato realized that his plan had backfired. Rose and Siglis gave Usato some time to catch up with the heroes, although they seemed to just want to argue with no one around. Usato was surprised that Siglis was actually the commander and the strongest knight of the kingdom, and he thought it was amazing that Ryusen and Inukami were actually learning swordsmanship from him. Afterwards, she asked for the identity of the girl accompanying them, and when she introduced herself as Celia Volgastlinger, he kneeled on the ground to apologize, realizing she was the princess, but she actually didn't mind it, so Usato was surprised, while Inukami remembered that Ryusen acted the same when she saw Usato. Afterwards, they happily ate the pie that the princess had brought for them. While eating, Ryusen asked Usato if he was undergoing the same intense training every day. Usato explained that it was actually lighter than usual, but he also asked how their training was. Ryusen explained that although their magic and sword training were also tough, Siglis and Welsi always considered their health and well-being. Usato thought that was how it should be, and Rose was just brutal. Usato was confused when Ryusen apologized after hearing it, so Ryusen tried to explain. However, Inuyukami suddenly interrupted them to check Usato's abs before he could say anything. She also wanted to touch it, but to stop her, he reminded her that Ryusen was about to say something. Ryusen asked if it was tough for Usato. Usato explained that it was tough, and he even wanted to run away at first. When Ryusen asked if he felt different now, Usato explained that although Rose is scary, he didn't want to run away anymore, and he even started to enjoy his training. Inuyukami thought he was amazing, as he had already found where he belonged, but Usato explained that he was just stubborn. And while Inuyukami and Ryusen were fulfilling their roles as heroes in the future, he also wanted to do what he could. Hearing this, Inuyukami pretended to be a normal girl and asked him to come to her aid if she got into trouble. But Usato claimed that he doesn't see her as a normal girl anymore, and even the princess agreed. At the same time, Tong came to bring Usato's lunch, but Usato didn't like his tone, and he still remembered that he had eaten his lunch previously, so the two started fighting. The princess didn't know what to do while watching them, but Ryusen realized that it was usual for Usato, and Inuyukami also agreed. Seeing Usato's situation, Ryusen felt restless and decided to return to the castle to train, while Inuyukami thought there was a reason why the three of them were summoned, and she wanted to give it her best. Usato was glad that he got to meet his friends, although he freaked out because of Inuyukami's behavior. However, he realized that she was actually right about the changes in his body and the improvement in his physical abilities, but he still doubted if it was enough if he wanted to save lives on the battlefield. The next morning, Rose threw a bag at Usato while saying that they were going out. His teammates were used to this already, and they seemed to look at Usato with pity. Seeing Rose, the guard immediately ran in fear to open the gate for her. Usato wondered what was actually outside and where they were going, but Rose just told him to shut up and continue following her. The two arrived at a cliff, where Rose showed Usato the forest known as the Darkness of Linger because of the number of monsters residing in it. Afterwards, she asked Usato not to come back until he hunted down a grand grizzly. Usato knew how powerful the monster was. He thought it was impossible for him as he didn't train to fight. He even doubted that he could beat a blue grizzly which was significantly weaker. But Rose told him that he should be capable of hunting it down easily now, and she threw him into the forest when he started complaining. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoy this video, and please subscribe so you won't miss the next part. And just comment down any anime you want to see in this channel.